morning and welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. I'm John. I'm coming to you this morning with a couple of tidbits of news and some talk of what's going on in and around the nation today, as well as our government. Anyway, Joe Manchin, from a Democrat from West Virginia, has called for funding the Ukraine, or else there is an atrocity that will happen. He's pushing Congress to sign off on more money for the Ukraine. When does this issue go to bed and stop? Because we've already funded well past our abilities to fund anything with the Ukraine, and I'm personally sick and tired of hearing about it. And if Joe Manchin needs to send money, he needs to go to his bank account and send it, not send our tax dollars anymore over to a war that is none of our business in the first place. And the second place is it's not coming to an end anytime real soon. And if anyone is under the delusion that the Ukraine can win against a superpower such as Russia, they're sadly mistaken. So you have to ask yourself, why is certain people on the Democratic side of the ticket, as well as the Republican side of the ticket, keep wanting to fund a war that has nothing to do with us at all? Let them go to the negotiating tables, as was done at one time, and come up with a plan that's workable that will solve this issue. It was on the table once until Boris decided to make a trip up there and cancel it. So we have to ask ourselves, along with that, what was Obama doing at 10 Downing Street with the new prime minister, and what are they up to with regard to funding or getting more involved in the Ukraine-Russian skirmish that's going on right now. Russia rejected the talks yesterday of election rigging for Vladimir Putin. That should tell you something. And the Pope is calling for negotiation to end the Ukraine and the Middle East wars, which would be a pleasure to hear that will be taking place. But I don't see it in the foreseeable future. That said, we go into our domestic look at the Hunter Biden hearings that are going on. The goal was to make billions, not millions, from a business partner of Hunter Biden that came out on Wednesday questioning. On Tuesday's questioning. And we don't know where that's going, but the onslaught of trying to tear down our past president, Donald J. Trump, continues in earnest. And even Mark Cuban, who has announced to everyone that he would vote for Joe Biden, has come out and said this is wrong. We have to stop this. How Letitia James can get away with what she's pulling in New York, along with all of the other people that are trying to tear down an election here, because this is out and out election interference, and we all know it. But yet we continue to let it happen and applaud it as we go. It's crazy. And the mainstream media is at tremendous fault here in letting this become something to talk about on a daily basis. And we're not talking about just the bloodbath incident that they continue to drum on mainstream media, and especially on some of these networks like Morning Joe, with misinformation and mistakes on what was said, and the cutting and pasting of speeches to garner you to believe that this is what was really said, in case it was not what was said. We have said this, and some of the straight media out there and this platform will tell you that that's not the case. That's not what happened. That's not what was said. He was talking about the automobile industry in this country, and it would be a bloodbath if it goes the way this administration like to see it go. You have Karine Jean-Pierre every day trying to cover up and lie to a room full of press people that are asking the important questions, but getting answers that are so muddled that you can't believe it. And when she gets trapped, she says, oh, well, you'll have to talk to that department about it because I don't have the answer for that, or I'm not privileged to say this or be part of that. What is she doing there? Other than, here's another diversity hire that makes no sense and cannot tell the press corps the truth about what's going on inside the doors of the White House. That's her job. But no, she's scripted before she goes out there, and this is what you're allowed to say, this is not what you're allowed to say, and this is that, and this is wrong, but this is not right. Come on. I mean, you have a couple of people in that press corps that actually are asking the proper questions, but they're not getting the answers. It's craziness what's happening inside this carnival of an administration in a cabinet of fools. We need to get these people out of there and get people in there that, first of all, the criteria for getting a cabinet appointment is that you are going to be good at the job that you're taking on. Here's a classic example. Mayorkas has no clue of what he's doing, or he's brilliant and has decided to flood this country with people that will only vote for a clown show rather than a real government that takes care of the people who sent them there and protect our tax dollars, not give it away to a foreign country to be laundered and sent around to their buddies. And some of that is circling right back to some of our politicians or relatives of those politicians. It's a sad state of affairs. I never thought I would live to see the goings-on that takes place in the hallowed halls of our government today. And when they get caught red-handed, there are no ramifications. It's like letting the criminals do the smash and grabs, and as long as it's under $1,000, you walk away with no consequences. Or you're let out of jail with no bail and can disappear because we don't know where these people came from or really who they are. We're talking about 10, 11, maybe 12 million people who have gotten into this country illegally, and we're falling all over ourselves to give them housing, $500 in some cases a month to help them on their way. They're working under the table. They're not paying taxes. They're stealing and then setting up. A classic example is what I saw on the TV this morning in New York City, where they've taken all of these stolen goods or gone to the Salvation Army boxes and stolen the stuff from there, and they line it up on a sidewalk and sell it. This is how they're making money. Do you think one penny of that goes in taxes? Absolutely not. When is enough enough? We're losing our foothold in the most powerful, best country in the world. We're turning it into a third world cesspool. If this is allowed to continue, we're not going to be able to survive as a country. The lawlessness, it's happening before your eyes. As I say every day to you, this is the most important election cycle in your lifetime. You need to make sure you make the correct decisions. And I trust you all to stop and think. We're being overrun, and we're being chastised for speaking your mind against what used to be deviant behaviors. And the government is right there involved in it. And Joe Biden, all of this, the deaths as a result of illegal aliens are on your watch. So you should be held accountable for every one of those deaths, every one of those robberies, and all of the crime that you have let come into this country for the sake of getting a vote. I'm angry about this. You should be angry about this, and you should start telephoning and writing the people that are sitting in Congress today and sitting in the Senate, and people, you in New York, I'm going to talk directly to you. If you're too stupid to vote out Schumer, then you deserve everything that's happening in your city today, because a once great city is being destroyed right in front of your eyes, and Schumer's helping them do it. And now he's on the bent to get every penny out of our coffers and dump it into the Ukraine and help Hamas defeat Israel. What is that about? This guy has done nothing for the voting population of this country, and especially for the voting population of New York. What has he done for you? Why do you keep putting him back in there? For that matter, let's go to California on the other side of the left coast. Why do you keep putting, the politicians that you have back into Congress and back into the Senate? Adam Schiff is a classic example. He's done nothing but create a Schiff show throughout the entire time he sat there, trying to impeach a president with no proof of anything. And that brings me to the other side of the coin on the Trump issue. This man has never been tried or convicted on this insurrection crap that they keep trying to shove down our throats. There was no insurrection. There was a riot, and some bad people did some bad things under the guise of whatever, but I'm not convinced yet, and you shouldn't be convinced yet, that Pelosi and Schiff and that whole bunch wasn't behind the whole thing, because they could not take someone questioning a cheated election. There's the long and short of it for everyone that's interested. Enough of that. Enough said. I'm not going to go any further on that. Mexico told Texas today that they're not going to allow them to deport anybody back into to Mexico. So there you go. The Supreme Court says one thing, so what do the Democrats run to a Democratic-controlled 5th District Court and try to get that overturned. How about they take care of the people that sent them in there to do a job that they have forgotten how to do? But they didn't forget how to, the minute they're elected, start running for re-election and start taking your money while our tax money is being sent into wars that we should have nothing to do with. I'm sorry, I said enough said, that's it. Anything else to talk about today? Biden's apprenticeship diversity plan came out. Oh my God. Do we not have enough diversity in this country? Do we not have enough division? Do we not have enough hatred for someone that's not exactly like you? Come on. So what do? We fill all of the positions in that administration with diversity hires, whether or not they have the experience to do the job that they're getting put into, which they don't. I mean, I don't want to go into this because I'll just get angry. So anyway, it's going to be a beautiful, warm spring day here today. We had low temperatures in the last couple of evenings, 27 yesterday, and then this morning we woke up to 32 degrees. But I don't think we had any hard frost that will absolutely destroy anything that may be blooming right now. So that's a good thing. And I'm looking forward to a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope you are too. So with that, let me give you a little story here. There is an old woman that walked into the Federal Reserve Bank with a paper bag, a big paper bag, shopping bag, and she walked up to the teller and she said, "I have a lot of money in this bag that I want to make a deposit of. But I don't want to make this deposit until I meet the president of this Federal Reserve Bank." And they go, "Well, that's not likely because we don't normally do that." Well, she said, "I have a tremendous amount of money in this bag and I'm not leaving here with it. I want to deposit it, but I'm only going to deposit it. I have questions to ask your president before I make the deposit." So they go away and come back and they said, "Okay, he'll see you now." And they bring you into the president's office and she sets the paper bag on the desk and poured it out. And it was $500,000 in that bag. And she goes, "I'd like to deposit this, but before the bank president said, I need to ask you some questions because this is a large amount of money. Where would you procure this kind of cash and have this on hand? And aren't you afraid of walking around with this?" She said, I get that money from betting." And he said, "Betting?" She said, "Yeah, I make bets and I make a lot of money." And he goes, "Well, that's an odd way to accumulate $500,000, but obviously you're good at it." She goes, "I'm very good at it." And she said, "I'd like to make you a bet right now." And he said, "What kind of a bet?" And she said, "I will bet you $25,000 today that your balls are square." And he said, "What?" She said, "I'll bet you $25,000 cash that your balls are square, not round." And he goes, "Well, okay, I'll take that bet." And he goes home that night and he checks himself out and he's worried about it. He can't sleep. The next morning, she shows up and with her, she has her attorney. She said, "I'm bringing my attorney in here just for verification that this bet is going to be up on the up and up." So he said, "Okay." So she and the attorney said to the president of the bank, she said, "Would you mind removing your trousers?" So he does. And she goes, "And now your underwear." And she says, "May I check those out?" So she feels his balls and he says, "Are you satisfied now?" He looks over at the attorney and the attorney passes out. He says, "There's something wrong with your attorney." She goes, "No, he just lost the bet because I bet him $100,000 that by noontime today I would have the president of the Federal Reserve Bank's balls in my hand." So let's leave the day with that kind of humor and hope for the best as things progress. And here's the music, so that's going to be time for me to get on out of here We love you here at the Kaiser Report. Please remember us. Remember to hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't. And if you want to give us a thumbs up, that's great, but we accept a thumbs down too. And use the comments to let me know what you're thinking. And if you have jokes, thoughts, or questions, please feel free to use the comment section. And until tomorrow, we're going to say bye-bye from the Kaiser Report. God bless. We love you.